Right, evening. This is Andy Picken from Manbeasts Strongman Events, and delighted to introduce Max Rogers, who's one of our sponsored athletes. So, evening, Max.
Evening. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not bad, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah.
Early on in the week, isn't it? But we're getting going. So for those that don't know, I mean, you had an interesting sort of career early on. You started really young, didn't you? So look, I think probably the best place to start, Max, is just you introduce yourself and how did you get into strongman, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm Max from Hull, so I'm Hull's strongest man now. I'm just coming off under 23s. I got third this year. Match points were second, which was annoying, but lost on comeback. So some good athletes anyway, so I'm happy with that. And then, yeah, it was strongman. I just kind of, I was training at a gym when I was like 17 because I used to be really big into my rugby and stuff like that. And just as like my general fitness at Peak Health and District in Rye Hill. And this big strongman called Ben Grant, who runs Hull's strongest gym. He got me into strongman. He said, give it a go. We're doing Hull's strongest novice when I was like 17. He was like, you just get into it. And just loved it. I did the event, won 2 of the 5 events as well, which is obviously like a massive confidence boost against all these like really big, strong other dudes that have trained at the gym, So it was just easy to get like stuck into it, and then trying to compete in higher levels now, and we'll see where it goes. Yeah.
Brilliant, and it just shows you, doesn't it? I like Ben. He's been, I've got to know him a little bit through just emails and texts, and then he's come down to a couple of shows, and it just shows you, the importance of these local strongman gyms. As before, they weren't. They're not mainstream, obviously, but there's more of them now, which gives more opportunities for young people like yourself to think, you know what, I'm gonna give this strongman a spot. Football's not for everybody, is it? Or the other mainstream sports.
Not for me. I'm too heavy, man. I'm like, when I was like 16, I was at 100 kilos. So doing other sports, rugby came quite naturally because I was quite big. But other sports, like even like boxing, I like that quite a lot. But I was always like too big because I'd be like sparring against other fully grown males, And like when I go into strongman, because I've always done it as like an open weight competitor. I did it 1 year as a under 105 and I do very well. But as always like an open, it's always been like more fun. And then being able to stack myself up against all these other big dudes as well, it's always like really entertaining. There's always like even if it's like a car park one, there's always like a little bit of a crowd, and you just get a bit of a buzz from like winning something or doing well.
It's grown, hasn't it, as well? I think sort of athletes coming through into the sport now, like you, certainly have got more traction and potentially more opportunities because it has grown out of the car park. There's still car park shows, and that's the lifeblood of the sport, isn't it? It really is the lifeblood of the sport. But then as you go up, you've got maybe people like ourselves that try and sort of create bigger shows, but we're not a Giants Live or an Ultimates, but we still create bigger shows, which then allows people like you to sort of be seen by some of the other programs to think, let's ask Andy about this guy. And that's how I got to know about you. But through Ben, wasn't it? I think we swapped a couple of WhatsApps. We got you into Yorkshire's strongest man. And of course, you didn't podium on that, but you were just such a game competitor. Me and Mark Angleson's running. Yeah, we were chatting, and we were like, this guy, there's definitely, there's something there. So anyway, so Ben got you into it. You started, you've done a bit of boxing and all this sort of stuff, rugby, but then you've sort of settled into strongman. So you definitely got the physical assets for it.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, yeah, I love doing the strongman stuff. But yeah, I mean, going after that, like you said with the sport as well, just getting a bit better for the youth scene as well. Like I know the past few, Ultimate Strongman's always done like a Britain's under 23s for the past like few years. But I mean, now you've got other competitions like the one I just did, the under 23 Worlds. That's only been there for about 4 years. That was really good. I've done that every year since it's been on. And then obviously going into the shows that you've got where it's a Yorkshire Strongest Man and the Peak one, just the crowds get so much bigger. And it's just like, when you get to kind of my age, you kind of had to decide if you're going to take a sport seriously or not. And then when you see a crowd like the one at Peak, for example, and there's like 2,000 people, it's just like, it makes me want to be there so much. Like if I can entertain them and there's people that are like, we want you to win, all that sort of stuff. It's just so cool. And like, when you get other people such as yourself that are helping me out as well, it's like if other people have got that belief in me that I don't know that well, I should push myself. Do you know what I mean? which is
Yeah, but absolutely, and that's what it's about. And you know, it's something we get asked about with sponsorship quite a bit, but we don't do it much. We've probably done it with three or four athletes. Paul Smith being one of them that I think I told you when he was 19, and he's done really well for himself. And we did similar. Also another guy, Ryan Oldfield, then and an obstacle course race. So it was probably four people. We just sort of mixed it about, trying to support people. So it's great to have you. And like you said, we've got to remember with strongman, it's an entertainment sport, isn't it, as well? So yeah, it's great for you. Its strength is got health benefits for everybody. And it often is the poor relation to cardio, which is good. Don't get me wrong, but from a strength point of view, anybody can benefit from being stronger as well.
Yeah, and like you say, then with the cardio as well, like strongman's getting so much more athletic. Like there's so many events, like for example, like the camber toss, where you have to going to be more powerful to do more throws, or you've got the stern carry for max distance. It's like you can't say that's not a cardio event. You get like 20 seconds in, and I'm already dying. My lungs are already bad enough, and it's. Yeah,
and that's a good one, isn't it? So obviously we got you in Yorkshire. You've got a taste of sort of what we produce, and for anybody that doesn't watch Yorkshire, we operate a bit differently. We take it to people. We put it in unusual places like a shopping centre. So you're going down there to Sports Direct or going for a coffee, and you come out and it grabs the casual fan, and then they get hooked, the followers. And then obviously you've got the Peak District. Let's talk about the Peak District. You mentioned caber toss in there. So again, now in this one, we threw you in. It's an experienced field. We put newbies in every so often as well, because obviously we change it, people retire and everything else. But it's 6 events. It's it's your log press, which I know you're good at the log press. It's an 8-ton tractable, which is a twat, that tractor. Let's be honest. Then you've got Highland Games event, which is caber and a stone throw for distance, 3 attempts. Then you've got the Stone of Destiny, 170 kilo thereabouts, run for distance, and then you've got the Dinny Stones. Now, for a lot of people, a lot of athletes, when they come in this, the practice is on the day, and that's what it was for you. You turn up, you can't practice with a caber, can you? You knew you'd be good at the log. You'd probably done pulling events, yeah. Dinny Stones, again, it's different. So tell us about strongman, because there's so many different nuances with it, isn't it? One bar's not the same as another bar. The log pressing, it can be a different equipment. It can throw you off your game, can't it?
Yeah. Well, like in the Peak District, there are so many differences, because I mean, even such as like just competing on a field when it's like sunny. Like normally on a log press, I'd expect myself to do a lot better than what I did on the day. But having that big difference, and because it was the first event in front of that massive crowd as well, I was a bit nervous about it. But then as soon as you got through like the past few events, like as soon as I finished the log, the whole crowd's like hey, and then you're getting motivated to do the rest of it. But then, like you say, the other events like the camber toss, like I've never done anything like that before. That was crazy. And the stern as well, stern throw for distance. That was just like, it was just mental. It was fun, because it was a not super fatiguing event, which is nice. Because a lot of strongman events like deadlift and log press, they kill me off so fast. They kill up my CNS, and I'm tired for the rest of the day. But the camber toss, it was more of just like it was also a way we can have like a bit of a laugh as well with all the other competitors. Like, because it's so Highland Games compared to strongman, it was so much more fun, and everybody was a bit more relaxed on it, and not as competitive as we perhaps were like on the tractor pull, but I maybe just not as competitive because I did well on them events.
but I think again, it was your first time at that show, but there's a lot of there's at least a few of those guys that only compete in Highland Games in that event throughout the rest of the year. So Sean Blaze, for example, he does train, he'll enter the odd deadlift competition, but really is about the Highland Games because he loves it so much, and he's perfected it over the years. He didn't do as well this year on the caber tossing stuff, but the throwing events, that's where he really picks points up. And like you were saying, there's that banter between you all as well, because you're all like, you want to know, can I do this? And when you improve on it, it's like, I've got 9-10 meters on caber, which is going to score you good points. I think there's only a few people that have gone into double figures on the caber, for example. And it's not like the traditional Scottish caber, it's a lot longer and thinner. Ours is basically a telegraph pole.
Yeah.
That's what it is, so it's difficult to train with. So, so you got into strongman or you started training, was it 12 and stuff like that? So just, tell us about your journey there. So you got into strongman gym. Was that the catalyst then when you went down to Hull's Strongest? You got into that, won local comps, got yourself in, tried under 105, won Hulls, and then since you won Hulls, that's what got you on our radar then with Ben.
Yeah, with the qualifiers, stuff like that. I mean, starting real young, like I've always been really big into training. My family love like the fact that I can be kind of athletic and all that sort of stuff. Um, I grew up in like Orchard Park as well, so my family wanted me to have some sort of like kind of protection, I guess, in a way. Not that I'm a violent person, obviously, but you know, it's always good to be a bit bigger and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, so like going through like training and stuff when I was like 12. I used to love the boxing and rugby, like I said there. Trained all the way until I was like 15, taking that really seriously. And then I was training at a gym called Eastside, trying to do like boxing and stuff. Wasn't very good at it. So the gym owner was like, you know, I can see you lifting some heavy weights. So I was like benching like the 50 dumbbells and stuff. So I was like quite confident about it. And he was like, you should try out some strongman stuff. Me being a little nervous 15-year-old boy was like, nah, I'll push it for a little bit, because there's all these, you know, really big dudes in there as well. And yeah, so I pushed it all the way until I was like 17, and then I just happened to start going to a gym called Peak Health and Fitness Gym, which is where Hull's strongest used to be run out of. Used to have like a little shed in the back of the gym, or outside in the car park where they put all like the strongman equipment, like the logs and the stones and stuff. So the events that I really loved in that got me like really hooked on it was all the moving events. So the first event I did was Hull Strongest Novice, and there was these two strongman events called the Conan's Wheel, which is like normally one people hate because it's painful, and one called like the Farmers Walk, where you're just like, you know, walking with as much weight as possible. And yeah, I just loved them because it was just fast. You know, like I didn't need to be super statically strong, you know. So like coming from like the rugby background, I always thought that was like my more favoured events. And then kind of going more and more into it, gaining the weight, trying to put as much muscle on as possible and all that sort of stuff. And then, you know, putting like years into it up until now. You know, I've been doing all these other comps. I've been trying to get into other pathways, like you said as well, like through the ultimate strongman and stuff like that, trying to get into there. But it's even like not technically, even like not qualifying for them. Like it's always been good to compete against other like really good competitors now. Like, you know, there's Lewis Bing, who won Europe's Strongest Man under 23s when he was on that. And there's like Joe, the animal Oliver, who's competing on like Giant Slav. He competed in some of the under 23s.
Yeah, is it Lawrence Shalali? Does he coach him?
Yeah.
He's got an immense log, hasn't he? If it's one I'm thinking.
He's an animal. Yeah, but when I competed against him, that was when Jack Osborne was still 23 as well.
Yes.
So they're all competing in that same comp, and he beat Jack Osborne to go into the Giant Slav, to England Strongest Man invite, and then from the England Strongest Man got an invite to Giant Slav, which is really cool to see. But you know, there's people. I don't know if he was like 18 or something, like 20 reps on 120 kilo log, but just watching that happen, because like when you're kind of growing up in like in a council estate or like a village or anything, if you train like a normal gym, you know, the chances you're going to see somebody benching more than like 150 or 180 kilos is really high. Do you know what I mean? Or there's like maybe one dude who's just like ridiculous, and you know he's on steads, and you know he's doing all this other dodgy stuff as well. So to kind of compete against them fields is motivating in itself as well. You know, like when you see all these really good athletes, you know, it's just, it's not. I keep looking at them thinking, you know, why can't I do that? Do you know what I mean? So it's motivating training, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And like you were saying, it might pay into your favour when you look at even international fields. Now, yeah, you've got your static thing and you've got the 505 deadlift and and all that sort of stuff. But actually, when you look at even World's Strongest Man or Rogue, there's a lot of moving events on. Like I was saying, that there's Conan's Wheel, which we had at Yorkshire's. Actually, you know, we had the yoke, didn't we, as well? Another moving event. So even in our sort of competitions, we do have an element of cardio, you know, don't we? Which, like I was saying, not all of them like, you know, some just like the static events. So when you got into strongman and what have you, what took you to Hulls then? Was it a gentle nudge by Ben? Because I know Marossel, he's won that a few times. I know Scott Moore over the years and these sort of guys. So, you know, was it Ben who said, you know, you're entering this, or did you just look and think, I'm entering that now?
Yeah, well, he was like mostly just Ben. Just said, you know, we are doing this competition. If you want to kind of see how you stack against these other dudes, you know, do it. I think you do quite well. And I mean, you know, just like with yourself at Manbeasts, you know, any sort of push, I'm there. You know, like if I think I can win, I'm going, because you know, winning's the best feeling. I'm a super competitive guy, so yeah, it was really good. And then went to uni in Liverpool, and the reason I've kept coming back to Hulls to kind of compete here is Two reasons really. One's because my family still live here, so like it's really cool to have like a little home title. And two, it's these other competitors I'm competing against. Like we've got like Miroslav, who's been really dominant for 3 years at Halls. I went to beat him. And then we've got other competitors that are doing really well with like, for example, like Max Serby. He's like sponsored by like Beast now as well. So by Beast fan, you know, Eddie Halls.
Eddie Halls, yeah.
And he's competing like English strongest man and stuff. So like when I compete against him, I'm always like so close, which I think is really cool. So I just want to beat him as soon as possible. But it's just one of them where like he's so strong, but it's because strongman's such like well-rounded with these moving events and you know man strengths like the stones and stuff, showing your manliness. I just love that whole.
I hope we don't have the teeth pulling events on there. So no Ross he's loving that at the minute. How strong are your teeth, Max? You know, how far do you go? So you mentioned about big crowd. So tell me, you mentioned a little bit about it already, and I'm going to plug this because it's one of our shows, but I really do believe that the Peak District Highland Games is a really special event, and it's something we cooked up maybe 8 years ago. It was Mark actually who said, "You know what, Andy? I've really fancied like doing Highland Games and strongman," and we made it up from there. A show. We took it to Matlock. It was so small at first, and then suddenly, and you probably experienced this. You probably won't get this outside of Giants or an Ultimates, where that crowd comes back each year. And they want pictures with the athletes, which you just don't get at regional type shows. They want pictures with the athletes. I get peppered with messages on the social media after saying, you know, about yourself. We've had yourself. We've had Matt Cole. He didn't compete this year, but he's been a couple of years and won it. And you know, I've got people saying my son's. My son's autistic. He doesn't normally get into sports. He's not shut up about strongman, you know, or my daughter's spoke to Michaela and the women she wants to do strong. You know, when you get all this, you know, what were your experience of that just as a newbie coming into that show?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, having a big crowd at the beginning, it makes you really, really nervous. But like when everybody's behind you, you know, if I'm throwing like the camber and people are going, whoa, it's just, I get so much energy. It's so exciting. And it's just like, you know, when we first started the event, we had to do like a walk around the Matlock farm. That was pretty cool, with all the bagpipes and stuff like that. And that was just like a whole new experience to me. Like, I'd never done anything like that before. That was crazy. And I mean, I do like competing at summer comps. Like, I like competing at All Strongest, of course. But the crowd is just crazy. You know, like normally when you go to like a regionals or something like that, it's, you know, the crowd is people that compete and their families, and that's kind of it. Maybe a few friends.
Still great. It's still great, but I suppose it shows you what level that show is at, and it does surprise people when you come into it, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was crazy.
And of course, Matt, I remember there's a couple of pictures of you smiling as well. I mean, who smiles when they're lifting 352 kilo of? You know, you're egging on the crowd. You were going, you know, and all this lot.
But it's really easy to get into. Like when lots of people are like backing you, it's such a good feeling, you know. Like between events, I feel like, I don't know, it's like walking to go to the toilet or something in between events, and people are just trying to like pull me away to get like photos and stuff, which is really bizarre for me because that's never happened. But like really cool at the same time because it's like, you know, all these people are like supporting me in a way. It's really nice. You know, having all that behind me.
And I think there's a couple of videos. You've got a bit blurry, but I can hear you. So I'm just letting you know. I don't know whether it's your signal or mine, but we'll just leave and see if it runs on. But it's picking up the sound anyway. So, and I noticed at Yorkshire Strongest Man, you were the same as well. There were a couple. I can't remember which event it was, but you were smiling again and, you know, growling, and people get behind you. And of course, your dad's come to every show. He's a big supporter, and he's a big guy as well. He's got to be 6'7", I'm guessing.
Yeah, he's like 6'10". He's just massive.
Is it?
He's always ducking all the time.
Yeah. Wow. So that's another good question. So what's your physical stats then? People like to know this. So how tall are you? How much do you weigh?
Yeah. So at the minute, because I weighed myself this morning as well, I'm like 124 kilos. Kind of average around 124, 125, depending on like if I'm in show or not. Because I've just finished, I'm actually not eating as much because I want to give myself a bit of a rest. Yeah. It's real tiring eating loads of food. And then height-wise, I'm 6'5" now.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you ask me after a year or something, I'll be a bit 6'4", you know.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Come. Well, Brian Shaw's lost his height over the years, hasn't he? You know, from all the heavyweights. So that's another good one. So I say it's a boring question. It isn't a boring question for people that want to know. So what's your average calorie intake then for a day? What do you tend to eat?
Changes all the time. Cause it like periodizes. So like for the minute now, I'm being quite lax with it. I'm going between like kind of 3.5, 4,000 calories, and then when I go into towards a comp, I'll go up it towards 5 or 6. And kind of just depends how I'm feeling. Like if I feel really good and I've got enough carbs for the day, like normally going into a comp, I'll be okay. Because it's more about how comfortable you feel during the day and how much energy you've got. Because I don't want to, I want to have as much food as possible, but feeling sick when I'm trying to lift is the worst thing ever. But like when I'm in off season, if I'm trying to gain weight, like normally during kind of May, April time, when I'm going into kind of competition season, it's, putting on as much food as possible. Obviously trying to be clean with it, just like beef and rice, real boring stuff. But yeah, I'm just.
Do you find it hard to put on weight as well? Because I know some guys, because you're really tall, and I'm not saying you're lean, but you're slimish. You're a lot bigger than what I am. You're a big dude, but you're tall and lean. So is your metabolism quite high naturally? Do you feel? Do you have to pile it in? I remember Paul Smith telling me how he ate 8 or 9 pints of milk. Piling that down because he's a bit smaller, and that's how he did it. Do you struggle with that side or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if my metabolism's that fast, but obviously being a bit of a taller and a bigger dude anyways, it takes so much more for me to even feel like full. So like, and if I don't feel full, then I can't train, and then all of that goes to rubbish. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like food, if I'm not eating kind of the correct amount, you feel it during the day. You know when sometimes you wake up and you miss breakfast, you feel like stomach feeling. If I'm like having 6 meals a day and I miss meal 2, I'm feeling that, even though I've had like 1,000 calories an hour ago, I'm still feeling that kind of just like that urge to eat more, that hunger, but yeah, I mean, with the milk thing as well, I used to do the milk all the time, the gourmet diet, try and push it as much as possible. But yeah, it's hard to talk about just getting hungry again.
And I suppose at the same time as well, it's a trade-off, isn't it? You've got to balance it because there was this thing years and years ago in strongman where you literally just eat as much as you can and gain the weight, but that can be a disadvantage as well. I think everybody's got an optimum weight that you might find that's got the best trade-off for you, maybe static strength and your moving events. As you know, obviously, if you load up and you gain too much, Eddie Hall, for example, he put all that into that deadlift, didn't he? But if he'd had any sort of moving events at 30 stone at 6'2", it'd have been screwed, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and of course, there's that many events in strongman. It'd be impossible to throw all the eggs in one basket and say, right, I'm going to get heavy and heavy for that one event, unless you're doing a world record attempt. It'd be daft to do in strongman, wouldn't it? Because you're going to have so many different diverse events.
Yeah, and just like physical fitness as well. Like, like if you've got to be cardiovascular strong, you've got to be confident before you're going into an event. You've got to have like the good mindset for it. You've got to be, even stuff like if your fingers get too fat, gripping stuff becomes an issue. Stuff like that. I mean,
sleeping.
Yeah, sleeping.
CPAP machines and all sorts. Yeah.
But like 2 to 3 years ago, I was about 130, bulked up as much as I could. At the time, I could probably get a bit heavier now, but about 2 or 3 years ago, I got up to 130, and it was just like I got so much stronger statically with stuff like the log press and stuff. But in other events like like stones for reps, I'd be gassed after like 20 seconds, and it's like when I look back at it overall, if I just stayed a bit lighter, I'd have probably done better points wise overall in all the comps. So it kind of just like the way that the strongman works, you can't really do that anymore, where you just get as big as possible,
But you learn, don't you, Max? You're 23, and I suppose that's at least you can look back and reflect and think, what, I went to 130, it didn't work for me. So actually, I'm going to find that balance where you might stack a bit of weight on, but it's weight that you can move with as well because you've worked on your cardio a bit.
Yeah, that medium, yeah, and I mean, especially trying to be a bit more periodized with it as well. Like. Only bulking towards a comp and only to a certain amount, and still training all the moving events while going into the comp and stuff as well. It's always better to do it that way because I mean, when I'm trying to just gain weight to get stronger, because not normally for me my static is my weakest, but I still need my moving events to work. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't just like not do them, otherwise I'll just not win points. There's all these other competitors that are training the hardest as well, and you can't like forget about that. Or kind of be too confident around it. Otherwise, I'll just lose out, and I know I will.
And who's the strong? We talked about this before, didn't we? Who's your strongman? Oh, I'm going to say strongman idol, but the world's the world's strongman, your role model, somebody you aspire to, somebody that you like the way they approach events and everything else.
Yeah. I mean, when I first started, obviously, like 2017-ish, looking at them kind of competitors, you've got these biggest athletes such as like Thor and Brian that I really liked because obviously they're just bigger than life. But then when you look at the competitions and you're trying to see it through like a kind of professional lens, yeah, it's just like Mateusz Kieliszkowski, loved him. He's great. He got through amateur Arnold at like 20 years old, so he's an amazing athlete and he stayed really good all the way through. He also, like, my favourite event's the Monster Dumbbell, and he had the record in that for a few years, which is really cool. But like 22 years old as well, putting 150 with it. And then you've got the other athletes such as like Novikov. Love Alexei Novikov. He's so, like, even though his videos are entertaining, like he's just so professional and like down to the point. It's so good watching him just grind through stuff, especially being a bit. He looks kind of like a slightly bigger dude. Like, it doesn't look like bigger than life. It doesn't look like shredded to the gill like Mateusz does. He's just kind of like strong, like bare, like it's just so like natural. He's so good.
Absolutely, yeah. And he really came and made a massive impact on the scene when he came in. And then, like you said, you've got your older school like Brian Shaw that he's so meticulous in his training. I quite like watching some of his videos. If you like that, he'll either turn people off because he's too in detail, but I quite like the way he's so meticulous with stuff. And then you've got Hathor, to me, that's just certainly with deadlifts, he's on a different planet, because that 5'10" for me went up so easy. It looked like it more in tank, and I thought, if it's a 5'30", 5'40", how long is that unbeatable for? Because I can't see that being beaten. For a long time.
He said not ever, did he? He said like not in his lifetime, 5'40". I'd believe that. I mean, say that people believe that until it happens, don't they? Like when Eddie pulled the 500, nobody believes it until it happens, and then you get 10 other people pulling 500 at that point, like,
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us your aspirations then. So no pressure from me, obviously. I know we're sponsoring you, but it's about supporting you in your journey and your sort of goals. So where do you see you going then, Max?
Well, the top goal, I feel like if you're in a sport like this, the top goal is to win big comps. And winning big comps means kind of going as far as you can, such as like, Europe's, Worlds, all that sort of stuff. I'd love to do that. But trying to be as kind of realistic as possible, let's set smaller goals first. So, for example, come back next year, win Peak, win Yorkshires, win Hulls again, have that confidence, take it to England's, qualify and win there, and then Yorkshires and so on. I do want to do everything I possibly can. I still think I'm quite young, so I've got a few years to do it.
And this is another thing, isn't it, Max? Your strength don't generally peak. If I'm telling you, you'll know this. I mean, I was never anywhere near this level. I'm just a normal sort of gym guy, if you like. I've always weight trained and stuff, but nowhere near the levels of you. I've always done marathons and all that swear word stuff that strongmen don't like. And I found I was at my best in terms of endurance and strength in my 30s, early 30s. That's where I felt pretty indestructible in some ways. I think it's because I applied myself more. I wasn't like you. I trained, but I certainly, I know you've got a son now. I had kids later on in life. I went to uni. I enjoyed all the, things that go with uni, the drinking and burning candles at both ends and stuff like that. That's how I did it. When I got into my 30s, I started cleaning it up a lot. My diets, looking at me, my drinking and my training. So maybe it was that as well. But I think just generally, you get at 23, your man strength isn't even there. And look what you're doing now. I mean, that's potentially pretty scary, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, when I'm training and stuff, I mean, a few years ago I'd be hitting numbers that I didn't think I'd get to when I was 18. Now I'm training with I've got a new coach. I've got 3D strength coaching. I've got a nutritionist called Nathan Smith. He's really well, and I'm just like, I'm looking through the training logs. I'm thinking, I've got the set today is like heavier than what I thought my PR was going to be for my life. Do you know, like at the end of my plan, I'm supposed to be log pressing like 150 for reps, and it's going to be. To me, that's like England's Giants level, which I'm really excited about. So I can't wait for stuff like that to happen. But I mean, when I'm doing it, it feels like okay. Do you know, like, it doesn't feel like I'm pushing too much. It doesn't feel like I'm going to get injured, but it also feels like, you know, I'm hitting these numbers that I don't think I'd be hitting.
And I'm glad you've got the coach now. I know 3D Strength is involved with Jimmy Green, isn't he? And Jimmy Green's, you know, deadlift and logs definitely underneath 3D Strength come along as well. So you've got all sort of points covered now where, you know, you've got us supporting you, contributing to some of the costs that comes with the sport. You've got nutritionists, you've got a coach. So really, you've got all the ingredients, you know, and it's good to be part of, to be honest, Max. You know, it's like when we had the discussion, thought, you know, as a young man coming through here, let's see if we can help him, and let's see if we can achieve the goals. I'm sure there might be setbacks on the way. There always is, you know, but it's about consistency into that. That's what I've seen in some of the strongmen I've seen that have come up through the ranks. You know, it's been that consistency. And you know what, a little bit of luck, I think, sometimes in this game, been the right place, the right time. If somebody spots you know what, let's chuck him in to England's or whatever, and then that's when you. Yeah, and if the crowd gets behind you, that's definitely got behind Paul when they used to run Britons at Sheffield, even though he lives in Rochdale now, or Oldham with Shannon. You know, when he lived at Sheffield, it got that crowd, and I think that probably helped as well with him getting that invite and his performances. It lifted him, so hopefully we can do the same with you, can't we?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's happening already. You know, like I say with the coach and stuff with you, helping us out with that as well. I mean, with Jimmy Green, he first came up to me and he said, you know, get this coach, he's raising my deadlift by 80 kilos. It's like, yeah, straight away on that. The 80 kilos is crazy.
You know, Jimmy, I love Jimmy Green, mate. He's helped out on our shows. He competes in the shows. He's just super helpful. So it's good all those things. The stars have aligned in some ways, haven't they, at this sort of level, just to get that somebody watching your diet, the plans, the progression, the coaching, and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to him as well, because he let me use his kilt. If I didn't like his, I wouldn't be able to compete and peak. So
that's another thing at peak fishing. We've had all sorts of. I think Amazon have made a killing out of us over years where somebody's got a late invite to get try where do I get a kilt from? Well, obviously, Max has. You know, if you're available, you'll certainly get the invite for Yorkshire's strongest man, and obviously for the Peak District as well, which is its 10th year anniversary this year as well. Well, sorry, next year, 2026, it's its 10th. So I'm wanting to do something big. Don't know what it's going to be yet, but I'm wanting to do something super big for that show. Maybe get some of the older athletes to maybe just make an appearance, you know, who started it off all those years. They're retired now and what have you, but maybe get them down and do something big. But listen, Max, anyway, it's great to chat to you. Thanks for taking the time out, and obviously for us being part of this journey. And for anybody watching as well, we'll share social media, follow you as well. I know you're on Instagram, Max, and get the videos posted, and hopefully people will see you at our shows.
Right.